Potential. Potential, according to Google, is defined as having or showing the capacity to become or develop into something in the future. This word is used to describe prospects every year coming into the NBA draft to talk about the ways people see them and how they could potentially be better than they already are. For many reasons, vitals on their body, glimpses of a different quality that they have yet to tap into, or even something that was never taught to them at a younger age that could serve them much better in the NBA. Now in this video here on the Alvini Linguine channel, I talk things all interesting basketball with your boy Alvini Linguine. I will be discussing what I like to call the NBA prospect potential paradox. Basically, an in-depth ramble of what I believe to be how potential is found in players, why some players just straight up don't work, and much more, all today in this video. I hope you're ready to go into a deep dive with me because this is going to get real deep. At least I think it is. But as usual, before I start, you already know what I have to do. The like goal of this video is the usual 1,000 likes to help support the channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram to get channel news and updates, and follow me on Twitch for weekly streams. But with all that out of the way, you already know who it is. Right.
He incurred an injury dealing with weights in the weight room, so he stitched up in the left hand doing all this.
We have already established the meaning of potential in a regular definition sense, but what about in the NBA sense? Well, obviously it can go from a large range of meanings. Some people believe some players have the potential to go one way and some a whole lot higher. That's why the idea of the NBA draft is so fascinating to a lot of people, and why certain moves don't make sense in the now, but make so much more sense in the later. The scouts that teams hire are assigned to find the most talented players or to evaluate talent to see whether they would be worth investing into as a player. But even then, how do some of these people even find these qualities? Well, as a person who loves the sport of basketball and plays it himself, let me try to explain it to you while using examples of myself and others throughout this video. Reason number one of how scouts see potential: characteristics. We can agree that as more and more as the NBA continues, we have different metas and talents come through the league, that the NBA has become more and more positionless. Due to that, now more than ever, unique characteristics are more important to a person's potential now than ever in some cases. And a perfect way for scouts to find these characteristics is the NBA Combine. Now, like I said, I'll be using examples of myself and others, so let's make a quick example of what I mean about unique characteristics. The NBA Combine is used to note and have evidence of players' characteristics, whether it has to be stats on speed or athleticism, or whether it's just basic things like what can be more for your potential in a certain field, like height, wingspan, hand size, just stuff like that. Let's talk about a basic case about a person who was always talked about when it came to potential just from his unique characteristics alone: Matisse Thybulle. Personally, a player I love watching live. Matisse, coming into the NBA, was one of those players that just was so gawked over, mainly because of his wingspan, and he was reported to have a 7-foot wingspan. A 7-foot wingspan is nothing to mess around with. You have a guy like Matisse Thybulle around ready to steal anything in a passing lane or swat away a jump shot even when he's far away from you or behind you. And as a person with a long wingspan myself, I can personally relate. When I was young and going into camps and stuff like that, and I was trying to find a college, I was measured at 6'2" with a 6'9" wingspan, and I can remember many times where I used my length for absurd things, whether it was out rebounding taller people due to my reach, blocking shots, or even stealing in pass lanes myself. Plus, it makes dunking really easy. I mean, really fucking easy. But anyways, the world-class defensive potential could be seen immediately with Matisse Thybulle, since he had huge arms, big hands, and was proving it by averaging a ridiculous 3.5 steals a game with 2 blocks alongside that, while only getting 2 fouls on average. With the mix of long arms and stats to prove it, Matisse was a scout's dream. Dude was already perfecting his craft at something that all they needed to do was just make it a little bit better. And it's safe to say with him, it's already getting a lot better since he got Defensive Player of the Year honors last year, and it'll only get even more better, especially if he gets more playing time. But unique characteristics like that is what makes these players so interesting, and what really makes scouts have wet dreams about what they can potentially do on the NBA level. Someone who is already established like Matisse coming into the NBA makes drafting him really easy, but people who are a lot more raw but have characteristics like that are a lot more of a gamble. Think of people like Bruno Caboclo, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Zaire Williams, who was drafted last year and didn't really have the best stats coming out of Stanford, and even people like Giannis. Freakishly interesting prospects just due to the way they look. Tall, lanky, oozing with potential defensively and offensively, and oh yeah, that's exactly why shorter people, especially at the guard position, get treated less seriously, and it's mainly because you seem a lot more average. People who are shorter have to show a lot more promise to stick out. You have people like Marcus Howard, Chris Clemens, and Carson Edwards who are amazing scorers but can't find a place in the league. In fact, I can't remember the last time we've seen a point guard that survived in the league for a considerable amount of time that was 6 feet or under. 6 feet, oh my god, who was 6 foot and under. Even Isaiah Thomas is still hanging on for dear life in the league, being 5'9", which is exactly why a lot of guards, including myself, lie about being taller. And I'm looking at you, Trae Young, you Goomba looking motherfucker. Now for attribute number 2, we have skills already learned or gained, and this one is very self-explanatory. What skills do you have that would serve already at the next level? For some people, this is where they get stuck at, and where a lot of scouts give them the side eye. Now honestly, this is more of an eye test type of thing. Anyone can shoot, but can you shoot at a decent rate at the NBA? If you want to separate yourself in that aspect, do a Desmond Bain and hit 43 free throws, I mean 3-pointers, in a row on camera to help your draft stock. But nah, for real, scouts can only do so much with highlights that you can see online. As I said in a previous video, highlights only show the good and not the bad. But again, how would you be able to set yourself above the rest of the pack? And that's what scouts want to see when they see you play. Plenty of people are competing for a spot in the NBA to make millions, but unless these players give them a reason to take them seriously, you'll start to blend in with everybody else real fast and seem a lot more ordinary than you think you are. That's why some of these prospects stand out in the ways due to their skills. For example, Zion's dominance at the college level due to his freakishly amazing athleticism, Kyrie's handles and shot creation skills at Duke that got him the #1 overall pick despite coming off of an injury, the defensive versatility of an Evan Mobley that got him so high on draft boards, stuff like that. Again, to a lot of scouts, a lot of college players seem very ordinary, but you gotta have that aspect that sets you above the rest. And remember, John Morant was literally discovered at an AAU tournament when he legit did not have any offers off of that same idea. Dude stood out above the rest of the Murray State coach, and the rest is history. Now, with those two aspects, you have the perfect mix of how players are found and drafted to become pieces to teams or become staples of their teams. Now, of course, some players lean more on one side than the other. Again, Matisse Thybulle had the amazing defense off rip with the vitals that he had, so he's a happy medium. But people like Giannis, when he was originally drafted, was a straight up prospect far more towards the characteristic side than the skill side. I mean, if you're James Harden, then it's just straight characteristics and no skill, but we don't talk about that. Now, while someone like Kyrie Irving, who isn't too imposing physically and is just straight up all skill. But let's get into step 2 of the NBA prospect potential paradox. Now we have the player that got drafted to serve as the potential next cornerstone of your team. Now, how do you do it? Well, simple, or at least I'd like to think it's simple, but again, I'm not the one getting paid to do this. Get them playing time. If there's one thing that I've always carried with me when it comes to getting better at basketball, is you have to go against people better than yourself to get better. And that's exactly what a lot of these guys need. Reps. And I feel like that is a major reason some guys turn out better than others. They have an environment to grow in. Now, my thumbnail, you may notice I put a picture of Giannis. In the middle, you see him getting drafted. On the left, you have Nicholas Batum, the person who was mostly compared to due to his characteristics. And on the right, you have him where he is now. And I am sure it's not controversial to say this, but everybody thinks differently, so enjoy my spicy take. Giannis would not be where he is now if it wasn't for him being drafted by the Bucks. The Bucks was the best case scenario for him as a prospect and should be the model every team takes when it comes to growing a raw prospect. Think about it. Giannis did not start getting consistent when it came to his reign of terror until he was in the league for 4 years. Throughout those 4 years, he was able to model his game and become what he is now. And from there, he figured it out and got better and better every year. Giannis wasn't even thought to be a staple for his team right away when he came in. He wasn't even a top draft pick being drafted at 15. But when he was drafted with potential in mind, and the Bucks didn't have too much really going for them, so they went fully into making Giannis what he is now. Now, a lot of people can't say the same, which is why we have a lot of failed prospects. I think a really funny case of this is James Wiseman. James Wiseman, even though he has been injured for the longest, is being coached by one of the most stingiest and strict coaches in the league in Steve Kerr. You know, the same guy who cleverly named his son Nick. Yeah, I don't know where that came from without him wanting to change that. Anyway, one gripe about the Warriors I see when it comes to their fans and myself included that they do not like the way he handles minutes being given to rookies in Jonathan Kuminga and James Wiseman. And it's mainly because he holds rookies to a very very short lease. Now, I will be the first to say that anyone who is drafted to a championship contender has a higher chance to flame out and not live fully to their potential due to there already being a hierarchy placed where it doesn't really involve developing much in the aspect of playing time. Then you have Steve Kerr being a coach and you're just asking for a death sentence. Now, this has already been said, but he already had a major injury, so it's safe to say James will be coming back awfully slowly, and I'm just glad to see Kuminga is just getting some decent playing time nowadays, because when he was first there, he was basically in the G League for a little bit, then was moved back up for a test drive, and he's been a vital role player for the Golden State Warriors. But I'll be the first to say that if he was playing in an OKC jersey, his skills and everything else would have been honed at a faster rate, since he would have been basically free to do whatever in the hell he wants. But there have been plenty of situations and stuff like that happening, growth being stunted due to them not being treated as a priority despite you being chosen by the organization. Jalen Smith was drafted at 9th by the Suns last year and only played 27 games and didn't even have a G League team to go to at least get some reps. So he was just watching, but at least now he'll be able to have some playing time due to him being in Indiana. The Hawks drafted Antetokounmpo months later after they traded for Clint Capella, and Minnesota has zero patience for Jarrett Culver. And Orlando drafted Mo Bamba when they already had Nikola Vucevic, who is making all-star teams. But now, at least they can fully utilize them since Steve Clifford is gone, and, Vucevic is gone, and well, I don't really see much going on for the Magic. Also, how can you forget about Bol absolutely never being used by the Nuggets, and even when they got their G League team, still wouldn't put him down there. Now, how do you expect to get good at something if you don't practice it, and how do you expect players to not work out without experience? Now, I think there are two sides of this conversation. Sure, you can give a player all the time in the world to figure it out, but what if he doesn't? Well, all I can say to that is, it really be like that sometimes. Some people can't simply be all that great, whether it be to their own reasons or due to the team that they were drafted to. As many times as I've been told I can be great at basketball due to my natural athleticism and characteristics, but I didn't have the help to make that dream a reality, so I kind of had to teach myself, and honestly, yeah, I'm still not all that good. But I know that happened to a lot of people. Just like the prospects that don't work out is either through their own faults or the organization that took you in. Now, the example I love to use in this case is the story of Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and Miles Bridges. Both players came into Charlotte as the super athletic freaks that had potential to do more, and of course, they had both the same issues as each other. Both had a lack of shooting, and of course both of them had a real lack of any shot creation skills, but both could improve on that with time and practice. Well, as we know, MKG never figured that out and really couldn't make much of his athleticism in the league. He was given 8 seasons to figure it out and never could. So now he's out of the league at the age of 26. That was mainly due to him because Charlotte was more than patient. You can find plenty of videos of him online trying to practice with his shots with a trainer. But when it came to Miles, I do remember when he was traded to Charlotte, people were having a lot of MKG flashbacks, but without the fucked up jumper. But at least Charlotte fans knew he was willing to shoot despite his jumper in college looking kind of wonky at times, and again, his lack of any real shot creation skills at the NBA level. But 3 seasons later, and he's averaging 19 points per game and is in most improved player conversations. When you have an opportunity, there are more chances for a player to blossom, and obviously just because they have the opportunity does not mean it'll always happen. I can name plenty of prospects that had the potential according to the team they was drafted to and was given time to figure it out and just never did. Mario Zonia, Dragon Bender, Kevin Knox, Sekou Doumbouya, the list continues. Again, drafting someone at number 1 spot and then proceeding not to play them consistently hurts them. And at the least, send them to the G League to develop, please. But one more thing I want to talk about is the late bloomers. And I think the Most Improved Player Award is the perfect showing of that, and it shows the same thing. People who are able to get better after a long time in the league due to patience or even just being on a new team in general. Last year was Julius Randle, who was put on his 3rd team, was able to take the reins in New York, and of course they saw something in him even though he was at the age of 26 coming into that season, and it was safe to say a lot of people were probably going to give up on him, but he was able to tap into that potential, having a new beginning in New York. Brandon Ingram the year before was never able to get things going in LA, especially when LeBron came to town. Again, just another way to stunt someone's growth. So he was able to go to New Orleans with a clean slate and was able to grow from there to where he is now. Pascal the year before got his first All-Star appearance and won MIP after 4 years of being in the NBA and at the age of 25. But it's safe to say that Usai Ujiri just has a great eye potential as he's shown off plenty of times. Victor Oladipo, as soon as he got to his own team in Indiana, was able to tap in and get his first All-Star appearance, and it took him 5 seasons. You can see a constant trend here, obviously, but it keeps going towards my claim. These guys need time to figure it out. Some people come into the NBA more NBA ready and can look good immediately and just get better off a natural progression, but some of these guys need time. So it's always nice to see that some of these guys who had a rougher time in the beginning can now figure it out and become the next stars of the league. And of course, one of these guys is regarded as one of the best players of our generation, and of course, one of the best players at his position. And it's only because he was able to receive so much time and so much patience from his organization to become the player that he is today. There are many, and I mean many, of people going after hoop dreams year after year with the primary goal of making the NBA. Of course, not everybody has what it takes to make it there, and you could argue that some of these GMs take a chance on basically unknown talent for the sake of working with them. We've seen it happen with a person like the Candyman, Michael Olakandi, who only started playing basketball at the age of 18, yet was still drafted #1 overall by the Clippers just off of his potential alone. But everybody in every capacity can find some type of potential they can tap into and become very good at whatever they choose to. I thought that my thing would be playing the sport of basketball with all the years I was told I had the potential to play professionally, but I'm glad to say that I can talk about it, or at least grinding to say I can talk about it for a living with all of my knowledge I've learned over the years. If there is one thing I want y'all to learn as a secondary thing from this video, you have the potential to be great at something as long as you work hard at it and build it up. Giannis came from literally nothing and came into the league as a project and is budding as one of the best players of our generations, and you can do the same at something else, of course. But as usual, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed, as my goal for this channel is to inform and entertain. Check out my social medias for the inside life of Alvini and other channel news. Check out my Twitch where I stream weekly and have to go through shit like this all the time.
Oh, nigga, you gay.
How many times have y'all used this?
Oh, nigga, you gay. Oh, nigga, you gay. Oh, nigga, you gay. Oh, nigga, you gay.
And lastly, if you want to talk to your boy, there is always my Discord. Links are in the description. But with all that out of the way, this is your boy, Alvini Linguine, saying peace. And yes, Giannis doesn't need a jumper to be great, but that doesn't mean you can get away with that. Learn how to shoot a fucking basketball.